Hafidez and buenas noches. Thank you all for being here this evening. This town hall held by the Committee on Education, Libraries, and Public Broadcasting is officially called to order at the home of the Bulldogs, Ukudu High School. Today's date is Monday, April 28, 2025, and the time is now 6:11 p.m. My name is Senator Vince Borja. I'm the chairperson of the Committee on Education. Joining me today from my committee is my colleague, Senator Sean Gumatauta, and we're also joined here by Senator Chris Barnett this evening. I'd like to begin by expressing my gratitude to the Okudu High School community, including Principal Rita Flores for hosting us this evening. And we also want to recognize Derrida Mayor Peter Beneventi for providing the tables and chairs. A special acknowledgement to the Simon Sanchez and FBLG community, as well as their parents, teachers, and students for participating in this important discussion tonight. And thank you to our support staff from the committee, the legislature's AV team and central staff for everything they do for our community. Also want to thank Board Chairman Sablan, Superintendent Swanson, and the board members who are present tonight. Additionally, I'd like to acknowledge Mr. Tim Fidanco from the Guam Federation of Teachers for joining us. Sorry about that. Traditionally, we go over a list of rules of conduct, but tonight, we trust we all understand that our purpose is singular. Our children. We ask that we remain respectful and collaborative. We can't do this alone, and we need every one of you to work with us, share your ideas, and help us find real solutions as we close out this school year. The town hall format is designed to open dialogue, letting parents, teachers, and students speak freely. We, as your elected representatives, are here to serve you. Your voices are vital in shaping the future of education in our community. Too often we have oversight hearings having felt confrontational and unproductive. Tonight, we're trying to change that. After I turn the microphone over to our board chairman and superintendent for the introductions and brief remarks, we'll have a presentation by GDOE, and then following that, we'll open the floor to you, our students, teachers, and parents. Some of the topics for discussion tonight is maintenance concerns and campus refurbishment plans, the progress on the rebuilding of Simon Sanchez High School, update on the progress and current status of the FBLG Middle School, readiness for public health inspections to ensure timely school openings, some of our procurement challenges faced by the Guam Department of Education, and some of the lessons from the 24-25 fiscal and school year and planning priorities for the upcoming year. If you have other topics or concerns, please feel free to share them after the GDOE presentation. We only ask that you be mindful of time, especially since we still have school tomorrow. At this time, we'll invite the following individuals to offer their brief remarks and introduce their teams. We'll start with the Guam Education Board Chairman, Mr. Angel Saman.
Good evening to all of you. I'd also like, before I say my remarks, recognize two senators here that have been deeply involved in education over the years. If you remember, many years ago, a school bus sign was his slogan. I'd like to recognize Dr. Larry Caspavaro, former senator, and Senator Carmen Caspabauer, who are here tonight. They're both, of course, they don't live very far from here. I'd also like to recognize the mayor of Jigo, Mayor Francis Lizama, and the former mayor of Jigo, Mayor Robert Lizama. And we do have another board member that's here today. I think the longest serving board member on the Board of Education, Mr. Peter Alexis Ada. Thank you for coming tonight. Thank you all for being here. You know, it wasn't too long ago when I was sitting in front of a camera with Dr. Swanson and his team, and we were trying to figure out what school was going to open next. Remember back in August of 2024? And here we are, folks. less than 30 days before we end another school year. And I'd just like to recognize all of you, the staff and the teachers and the administrators, parents and the students, for going through this year, even with the difficulties we had and still continue to have, that we're going to close out school year 24-25 a successful year. So with that, I'd like to ask that we all give each other, all of you, a big hand for making this happen. Today, I know that you're looking forward to more information about what's going to happen with the status of at least our funding, our ARPA funding for that have already been obligated and put out. The members of Dr. Swanson and the deputies would explain that to all of you. But I want you to know that we at the board are very concerned and are doing everything that we can to make sure that every single dollar that has been obligated to repair and refurbish our 12 schools and to complete the renovation and repair of FBLG Middle School will happen. And I know that it's been difficult these past few weeks, especially with what has been coming down with the U.S. Department of Education, but we're hopeful. We're hopeful that we still have an opportunity. In our last conversation with them last Friday, they said that they will start giving out their information as to the requests of not just Guam, but I guess the entire nation on a case-by-case basis. And hopefully, the request that we've turned in to honor their initial request of allowing us to use the ARPA funding up to March of 2026 would be honored. If that happens, we will be able to complete the 12 schools, we will be able to finish FBLG, and we'll be able to find a way to separate and give JFK high school students back their home, start the construction of Simon Sanchez High School, give Okadu High School, our host here tonight, back their school, and also find FBLG going back to their own campus. We're looking forward to that end, and we will not stop till we reach that goal. It's not easy, but we will try our best to make it happen. God bless you, and thank you for all coming tonight. Thank you for your support and interest in your students, in our schools. And once again, I just want you to know that the Guam Education Board will do all it can to make sure that our goal, all of us, our goals are the same, and that's to work for the students, your kids, in whatever capacity we can to make them successful in their education. Sizos Masi.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And before I hand the mic over to Dr. Swanson, I'd like to also recognize former Senator Roy Canata, also part of the governor's cabinet. He's a cabinet member of the governor and special advisor on the rebuild of Simon Sanchez. Thank you, Senator Roy. Now, Dr. Swanson.
Good evening to all of you, and I'm really happy to be here and start to address some of the issues that have really challenged us all year long. And it's important to understand that the project plans and the funding that we had lined up are subject to the change of political winds on the mainland. And that's what's happened in this case. So we're working to get that money back and reinstated with the authority to use it, as Mr. Sablon was speaking of. He actually took most of my lines for this thing, so I'll promise to be brief. I want to be able to have my team share information with you that's of value for you to consider what's going on the rest of this year and where we're going to be next year in the operation of our school system. Thank you. That's it.
And before they start, we also like to recognize former Speaker Judy Wampat from the governor's office as well. Thank you. Do you want to go there?
And at this time, we want to give you some information about our facilities and in preparation for opening the new school year. So Dr. Nahalawa, if you'll take that. Turn it on.
Okay, there you go. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming tonight, and we're going to give you some updates on what's happening, where we are at, and are we ready to open the next school year? Of course we are, and we're way ahead. So next slide, please. All GDOE schools currently hold valid sanitary permits are ready to open for school year 2026, except of course for FB. We are not ready until the school is finished with our refurbishment, and then we'll have it inspected. So the school opening timeliness and public health inspection, right now GDOE is ahead of the schedule and has begun inspection for school year 25 and 2026. So to date, inspections have been completed at 10 schools. And the Department of Public Health is assisting GDOE in inspecting approximately 3 to 4 schools each month. And GDOE must complete inspection of 26 more schools over the summer and into the next school year to stay on track with keeping sanitary permits updated. So I'm going to have Nick talk about the results of those inspection, because we did good.
No, I'm not gonna say. Sorry, guys. So this slide here represents 10 schools who have successfully completed their public health inspections. As you can see from last year's inspection to this year's, we've made significant improvements. I'm gonna highlight a couple schools here, Stumble Middle School, who got their inspection grade in February. They got an A, and last year they got a B. Thank you. So you guys are really improving. Ordat Chalampago Elementary School is another school who's shown significant improvement in their public health inspection. Last year they got a C, and this year they improved to a B. So we're seeing an upward trend on public health inspections, and overall the demerit scores being decreased. Honestly, I think it's just the facilities and maintenance team and the school together in hand. They know what to expect when it comes to public health inspections. So by the time it is the school's inspection date, they're prepared, and they're ready to tackle public health. So I'll just continue. These are 26 schools that we need to continue inspecting now throughout the summer and furthermore throughout the year. Talafofo Elementary School, they've already completed their inspection. So, I'm sorry, Talafofo Elementary School, their inspection is next week. And this facility, Ukuru High School, will be inspected May 13th, I believe is what's on the schedule there.
So we are addressing the maintenance issues right now as we speak. We had issues before with grounds maintenance, but we're happy to inform that the purchase order has been awarded to 3 vendors, and it's ongoing right now. We've also been assessing all the elevators to all our schools, and right now we are at the Southern High. We'll make sure that that is done before school opens and maybe before the school ends. Also, we finished assessing Fin today and Tamuning Elementary School, and the rest will be to follow. That's our priority. And of course, we try to make sure that, next school year, our school is ready for our new students that are coming into the classroom. We're trying our best to supply those um, paints that the school needed so that they can at least help prepare the classroom for the new school year. The IQB for that is also carpentry supplies is awarded, I believe, and FNM supplies as well is in the works. So we're working hard day and night every day. So just to make sure the classroom is ready for our students and for our, teachers as well. So next slide, please.
So, due to a temporary pause in services for all contracts funded under ARP, the American Rescue Plan, several large and important capital improvement projects are currently under a 45-day hold until further notice. Some of the impacted projects include the refurbishment of 12 schools, which was being done by Cortec International, the refurbishment of FBLG School with Northern Construction, and our AC replacement contract with JMB Modern Tech. So, as you can see, because of the new guidance that was given by USAID, a lot of the capital improvement projects, as you are being impacted. And in the next slide, I'll go into further detail on what we completed so far for the 12 schools. Crack and spall repair and roof coating, that has already been completed for all of the schools that are part of the refurbishment project. Repair work for walkway and canopies, they were scheduled for the end of this month, and new installations were scheduled for the summertime. George Washington High School and Agata Johnson were undergoing exterior door replacements, and the last one is the picture at the bottom there, restroom renovations at Agata Johnston Middle School and OCP.
So the senator asked us what are our plans 30 days, 60 days, and 90 days. So this is our priorities right now to continue passing the public health inspections, of course. And we're trying to complete FB renovation school on our target date, subject, of course, to the funding, and to provide schools with all their supplies so that they can at least make the classroom ready for the next school year. So that's our priorities. And thank you so much to our FNM team for working so hard. And thank you, Superintendent, for your support. And of course, Senator Borja and Senator Barnett, of course, for the help. And that's why we're able to do a lot of stuff, and for being consistent in your support and make sure and checking on us and where we are at, how we're doing, and to make sure that whatever we do is for the kids. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Dr. Liebeth. Hi, good evening. My name is Joe Sanchez. I'm the Deputy Superintendent for Curriculum and Instructional Improvement. And as important as facilities is, we wanted to make sure that we shared with you some of the work that a lot of our teachers and administrators and school staff are doing with regards to teaching and learning, because teaching and learning does continue to happen in the DOE. So in terms of reflecting for this year, we focused on 3 major areas to improve student achievement. Some of these are initiatives that we've been doing for a few years, but we tried to place a special emphasis on particular areas. For example, the first one that I'll describe what that is what's called the professional learning communities. And again, I'm hoping that some of the principals will be able to share some of their work tonight. But the idea here is it's a very structured strategy where teachers get together on a regular basis and collaborate and focus on 3 areas. One is understanding the standards. So every single teacher and every single course that we have in the district has a common set of priority standards, skills, and topics. So basically, when you go from one school to another, if you're taking a biology class, they all know what's supposed to be the expectation for those classes. And it's not something that just comes out of a textbook, is we actually bring teachers together for them to discuss and debate and identify these priorities. They also sit and actually spend time discussing and coming up with a common interpretation. So that way, when they actually present it to their students and present it in their classes, there's some common understanding as to what those standards mean. The second area is they're able to share effective instructional strategies. One of the things that I think our teachers and our administrators will tell you is that there's a lot of professional development that actually take place. But part of that is it's not just professional development when they go to a workshop. They actually go back to their schools, implement the strategies, get together with their other teachers, talk about how effective they were or not, and then they're able to kind of share what their best practices are. The third area, which is a major area that we focused on this year, is the use of student data. And we're very happy to say that based on the data that we've been collecting over the past 4 years, and there's going to be a 5th year of consistent data since we got back from COVID, we are seeing substantial improvement in our students in reading and math. Now, of course, one of the challenges that we knew when we got back from COVID, it really wasn't the top scoring students that ran into problems. It was really more of the students who were already having challenges, as well as the students who were scoring on the lower end. In fact, when they came back from COVID, we found out that they were the ones who actually needed more help. So we've asked the schools to really try to target those students and provide the additional interventions. And again, based on the data that we've been collecting the last 4 years, it really looks like there's an upward trend. A few months ago, I think there was a comment in the paper that we made where we're looking at about 2 years behind. That number is now shrinking to about 1.5 to about 1 year. So we're thinking that over the next few months and years, we're going to see that upward trend increase. We're also looking forward to this year's testing. We actually started this week, and the window is open for the next few weeks, and we're really looking forward to seeing how that results in our student achievement. The second area is literacy across the curriculum. Now, the big statement that's out there is talking about science of reading. And really what that is a movement throughout the entire country to really focus on those strategies that have been shown to have the most likely effect on literacy when it comes to reading, writing, and of course speaking and listening. And that's something that we've been training all of our teachers. Our target this year was to train at least half of our teachers in those strategies. We were able to do about 30%. So we're looking at training more over the summer and then the remaining number of teachers next school year. But really based on the teachers who have already attended the training, we're getting a lot of good feedback. So that's something that we're going to continue to do. And then the last area that we focused on was standards-based instruction, assessment, and grading. So most of you who have kids in the system would have already noticed that we've moved into a new grading system that is really designed to align the grades with their student achievement, because the traditional grading usually doesn't really have a way of making sure that whatever they end up getting is actually a true reflection of their achievement. With standards-based grading and with standards-based assessments, we're actually trying to make the connection between student achievement and how they actually perform in the classroom and the grades that they receive. So when you see a grade that your child gets, you can actually determine and say whether or not they actually learned the skills of that particular class. Next school year, one of the things we want to emphasize, we're going to continue to strengthen those areas. For next year is what we're calling our career and technical education efforts. All of our high schools have some form of CTE, right? That's really preparing students for college careers or the world of work. But one of the areas that came out over the last few months is that's not enough. We want to, in order for students to be ready for the world of work, they have to be able to learn and develop what are called soft skills. We're trying to figure out what the term is, but we've been using terms like work-ready skills, some call it character education, other call it job readiness skills, but basically skills like speaking and listening, being able to problem solve, being organized, time management, being able to again work and collaborate with others in their field. And we believe that if we're able to incorporate that consistently into our system and to all of our classes, the likelihood of our students graduating and being ready for the world of work actually goes up. So next year we're going to be working a lot with our schools on making sure that we incorporate those skills into our lessons in every single classroom. So thank you.
With GDOE done or concluded, we'll now begin with our broader community discussion. We welcome your input on any concerns or suggestions you may have about wrapping up the school year and preparing for the next one. This is now an opportunity for the community to provide input and speak. Let your voices be heard. If you'd like to speak, please step forward to the microphone or raise your hand. We'll bring a microphone to you. State your name and the school or village that you represent. Not everybody at once. Can we bring them?
Hi, good evening. My name is Elena Garcia. I am the PTO president of 1M Guerrero. And it was so sad when they first started school. It was really sad that we had the overhangs that were really bad because of maintenance. Now, what are you going to do about keeping the maintenance up for the rest of the years? I'm talking also about the summer. I'm sure you have classified employees that are there that are working, and I think it should be continued. I don't think that you should just let it go and let it sit. Another question I have is, what are you going to do about the safety of the kids? There was a riot about 2 weeks ago, Tiyan High School. I have a grand that goes to Tiyan, and I was shocked to hear that the SRO kept telling the kids, go and fight. Let them fight. Let them fight it out. What are you going to do about stopping that? This is for the safety of the kids. Yes, our education is very important to all the kids, but believe me, also is their safety. And it really disappointed me for my grand to come up to me and tell me that. And I'd like to know what you guys are going to do about it.
The JM.
Those are my two questions.
Hi, ma'am. Jim Pangilinan, the facilities manager. Please be advised that we are trying to give out materials once the purchase order has cleared. But remember, there's not only one school, FBLG Road, there's a lot of schools. And they have a muni system where they put in their concerns, it's filtered out, and then we address them as they come in. As far as us being there all the time, we can't do that. I mean, there's other schools, there's other emergency stuff like that.
Hold on. Way back, DPW used to come out to the schools and help with the maintenance. You can't tell me that if you got contracts coming out, have contracts for every school. Don't just have it for one school. It should be all the schools. None of our schools should fail. The maintenance should always be kept up. And another thing is, when you guys have problems with stuff like, oh, my tile is brown and white, you got to remember, vinyl tiles are not all going to be the same color all the time, because why? Are you going to change the whole tiles out, or are you going to change what's broken? That's why I want to know about the maintenance of the school grounds also. So what is your contract for? Is it just for certain schools, or is it going to be for the whole entire island?
Now let me clarify what I just said. When I said we have contracts coming out, it's only for materials. That's all.
I
We
know,
pass it out.
but
and-
you didn't answer my question.
What's your question? Go ahead. Ms.
I
Perez.
said, what are you going to do about all the schools, about keeping their maintenance on top?
Well, currently, ma'am, all our schools have been inspected and we've passed. We all
Yes.
have B's and A's.
But
So
you
I
know what?
I don't understand what
There was a lot of us that helped out too.
Of course,
But-
it is a thing. But ma'am, I'm not here to argue with you.
I'm not
really
either, but I'm just
But I
letting
need
you
you
know.
to understand that FB is not the only
You
school
talk
out
about
there.
contracts, okay?
The contract of only the materials. That's all.
That's it?
We don't have we have no other contracts.
So
All
you
of
don't-
our money is
we
tied
have
up.
no maintenance grounds at the schools?
We
at our
do.
schools,
We
our
have
different
emergency
schools?
grounds purchase order right now. We have
But
a
that's not
stay
my
of
question.
procurement. Your question is, what are we doing? We are doing
What are you
everything we
gonna do?
can. All of our schools are at B's or A's or C's. All of our schools are ready to go back to school. There is
But
no
are we
school
gonna-
closed.
That's not my question. Are you going to keep it up? Or are you
Of
just gonna let
course,
it
we're going to
sit?
keep it up, ma'am.
Okay,
That is
thank
why.
You don't have to get mad about
I'm
it.
not getting mad. I'm
Calm
not getting mad. Just
down.
the same way you're yelling, you're raising your voice.
No.
I'm just trying to
I'm not-
make you
I'm just
understand.
asking you a question because the schools have been neglected for so long.
I understand that,
Too
ma'am.
long.
The schools have been neglected,
And
but it
I
hasn't been
think
neglected
a lot
only
of
last
parents
year.
here would agree with me that the school should have never even
I got
failed,
this. I got this.
right?
What was
They
that?
should have never failed. That's
Ma'am,
what I'm saying.
I need you to
I
understand.
understand that you got a contract out for supplies, okay, for your maintenance.
Okay.
But there's a difference with supplies and having the schools taken care of. Way back, they did have maintenance. Way back, they had DPW helping. What happened to all that?
Ma'am,
was
I can't
nothing?
answer you that. I just came in a year ago, and all our schools are up to
Then it should be somebody to answer it that's been there a long time.
par. Who's been here longer than me? Joe Sanchez?
Look, I'm not trying to be nitpicky, but the thing is,
Sorry, but I'm
it's-
the deputy superintendent for curriculum and instruction.
I
improvement.
understand,
You have a testing
but
question.
you were
I
here a
can
long
totally
time
do.
ago.
I know, but I
And
don't
that's not
handle
my
facilities at
question.
all.
My question is our school going to fail again? Promise me that it's not going to fail. Promise me that you are going to take care of the children and not let them get hurt. Stop these violence that's happening at the schools. It's so embarrassing that you have SRLs that tell us to go ahead and fight. It's ridiculous.
Okay, ma'am. My name is Barbara Adamas. I'm the acting deputy superintendent
Okay,
of
Barbara.
education. So I want to say for your first question, we appreciate at JM Guerrero, we have some outside support, and they have helped to construct the walkways.
Yes, we did.
So we appreciate all the volunteers because this is work that facilities and maintenance could not probably address right away.
I understand.
Okay, but I want you to know that as the schools are being prepared for inspection, if anything day to day happens, plumbing needs repairs, there's a break in the door or what have you,
But
principals,
why wait?
hold on, principals know to input the request in our Munis system, which then it's alerted to facilities and maintenance and they address it. I'm talking about the day-to-day wear and tear, things that break, water pipes that break. But at this
Okay.
point, we know of projects that need to be taken care of over the summer, and so those items will be prioritized. Do we want to save facilities for all of our students? Of course we do. And so we work hand in hand with our principals who are first
I
to
understand
see
what
the
you're
issues,
saying.
and then they report it accordingly.
But my question is, are you guys going to make sure that none of the schools fail?
Yes, absolutely. That is
my
Dr.
question.
Swanson's mandate. No school will fail.
And if there's no money, are you going to find the money to do it?
Yes.
Don't let it down. Don't let the schools fail.
Got it.
But my concern right now is I want to ask all of you about the safety of the students. Because that's ridiculous that I don't see why I can't go pull a child off. Maybe you do have some reasons that you can't. But the thing is, these fights could have been prevented. They could have been prevented at the school if you were out there watching your students.
I don't care who you have on the grounds watching the students. You know, a couple of years ago, and I'm not ashamed to say this because one of the senators, I had to go and push to get them to fight for my 2 grandchildren that gotten beaten up by 12 students. Are we gonna have problems like that? This is what I want to end. I really want to end that. And I hope you guys, all of you that are sitting up there, will do something about it and don't just let it go. Because this happened in 2016. 2 weeks ago, you guys had a riot at Tiyan. What other schools do I have to mention? I'm sure there's others. So what are you guys are going to do about the safety? I mean, you know, in 2016, what was so sad, the kid that was suspended got on the bus, went to the school, got 11 of his friends, and attacked my grandkids, my 2 grandsons. Oh, I'm so glad they graduated. And they're all doing really great. They're all military. But the thing about it is, you need to do something more for the safety of the students, not just their education, but their safety. You guys have not even mentioned that once. Not once have you mentioned that. And I know that I'm a PTO president for 1M Guerrero, but I'm also concerned about the high schoolers. Because I know that a lot of these students would want to go back to their schools. I'm sure they would love to go back. I'm sure Sanchez would love to go back if their school was rebuilt. But whose fault is that? Did we forget? Or do you guys just let it sit? Do something. Get up and do something. Don't just sit there and keep quiet and don't say nothing when I'm talking about safety of students, because not one of you have an answer to that. Do you?
Oh, Miss Aleta,
I'm sorry, Senator.
No, I have an answer. So I just wanted to speak to your comments about what did we do about the safety of the schools. Well, in the last budget, we were able to appropriate $1.5 million to reestablish the school resource officer program that you're talking about. I'll be sure to look into that allegation that you made about the SRO.
I appreciate it.
Thank you. I also had attempted to appropriate $2 million for school security cameras, but unfortunately I wasn't able to get the support for that. And then on your comment about the maintenance, you're absolutely correct. Back in the day, GDOE had a very strong and thriving maintenance division. I know because some of my uncles used to work for it, but over the years we went to privatization, which to me we haven't been getting the best bang for our buck, and that's why we appropriated $5 million for maintenance in the last budget. However, I learned from the Deputy Superintendent of Finance that instead of using that $5 million to hire employees to be in-house for GDOE to go out and to do the plumbing, do the electrical, because of all the uncertainty with the cuts that we're getting from President Trump, they've now decided to use that $5 million for something other than maintenance. So just to answer your question, there are things that were done to address safety and maintenance in the schools, but I admire your passion, keep on, and I'm also very sorry for what happened to your grandchildren.
I understand, Senator, and thank you, but I hope parents will speak out also.
I'd like to speak about kind of just where we're at in regards to at least the new legislature and the new majority in regards to the priorities within the Department of Education. So to kind of share what in regard, or to add to what Senator Barnett said in regards to using the $5 million that was appropriated to fund maintenance. There was a plan, and they've been working on that over the last couple months in trying to hire people. But under the current situation with the U.S. Ed, the GDOE had to figure out a way to find money to keep the FBLG project going on until we get some kind of resolution or response from U.S. Ed in how to proceed in regard to reimbursement. So for that, in regards to that, that is the priority right now based on the current situation. We did commit to GDOE in regards to ensuring that if they should or when they use that funds, that once we get past this hurdle in regards to the funding from ARP and US DOE, that we will, the legislature will continue to look and ensure that they get some kind of funding to continue with the the plan to hire a full-time maintenance team, which was presented at the first town hall when we presented at Southern High. So that plan is still there. It's just based on the priority in regards to ensuring that there's still progress with FBLG. There was a suggestion to use those funds to pay for that. In regards to our commitment, ensuring that students feel safe, our commitment ensuring that maintenance continues, that is still the commitment of GDOE, and that's still the commitment of the legislature to ensure, based on the available resources, that that is on top, one of our priorities in regards to education for Guam students. Dr. Swanson, did you want?
Hi, good evening, ma'am. My name is Chris Anderson. I'm the administrator for Student Support Services Division. I'm tasked to be the liaison with GPD to execute the SRO program. Thank you for the concern that you registered for Tiyan High School. I'm not tracking what you just mentioned, but I'll look into it and be able to get back to you. You mentioned you're the PTO president for Juan Guerrero?
Juan Guerrero, yes.
Okay.
But my concern is, I don't just have a child that's in elementary. I'm talking about high school. And I brought back that 2016 because I don't want to see the same thing happening to these kids, what happened in 2016 with my grandkids, where 12 kids had beaten them up. We had to take them to the hospital. Did GDOE even cover the bill? No, we paid out of our pocket. We submitted everything, but nothing was done. But I don't care about that. It's about the safety of the children. And if you SROs are supposed to be out there during their break or whatever, then walk around the school. It's not going to be hard. It's not going to be hard to walk around the school. Have at least 3 of you walk into different wings. Because you know what? That fight could have been prevented. Right. A lot of these riots could have been prevented at the schools. And it's sad because it's going to trickle down to our elementary students. And that's what I don't want to see. I really don't want to see that.
No, I understand, and I completely agree with the concern. Any SRO, any particular individual that would encourage kids to fight is going to be unacceptable. So, again, I will look into that and speak specifically with that SRO and get to the bottom of that and get back to you. But just to clarify also, right, for those who may not know, SROs are only in the high schools. Yes. And in the high schools, the primary responsibility for the security and safety of these kids is not the SRO. These are GPD officers. Their function is to primarily handle criminal violations.
I understand.
So the school is responsible for primarily addressing discipline issues, and then when there's a criminal violation, to have the SRO engage with that.
Understood. But that's why I brought it up to GDOE. And why have they not have done nothing? Nothing at all for these kids to be safe. And it's so sad. It really is sad because I don't want to see it trickle down. What really hurts me the most, I hope you're all checking it. Because there was a student in junior high. One of my grands went into the bathroom because she needed to use the restroom. You tell me, what were they smoking? What were they smoking that had no smell? She ran out because she was scared. She was really scared. She was even scared to go to the principal. But I had to beg her, do it. Don't let these kids get away. Drugs in our school, come on. So either you need to get together with the schools much more often, or useless having you people there if you can't do anything about the safety of the children. Am I right or am I wrong?
Well, we do closely monitor what's happening on school campuses. Again, no excuses, ma'am, but we have very specific protocols when it comes to student discipline. 0 tolerance for fighting, rioting, drug possession, those kind of issues.
I understand, but it's their responsibility. All GDOEs are responsible. They need to get off their ass. I'm sorry, I don't mean to say it like that, but this has got to stop. It really needs to stop because it's even in junior high. You can't tell me there's no fights in junior high because there is. It really needs to stop. This fighting, these drugs in our school, the drugs outside, I don't know what you guys are doing. But you know what? These students, it's really sad, okay? So it just needs to stop. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Ethan Cruz. Kind of a little bit of a change of a direction here. I work at the GDOE Mayor's office, and I wanted to inquire on a potential suggestion or the viability of a suggestion regarding FB and Simon Sanchez. So as I'm working at the Mayor's office, we've been encountering a lot of issues surrounding indoor sports. So we've been trying very, very adamantly to balance the availability of the GDOE gymnasium. And mind you, there is only one gymnasium in GDOE. So I wanted to see if it was a viable option to, through these next several months before the opening of the next school year, to see if there was a way to partition off or utilize either FB or Simon Sanchez's gymnasium to help ease the load of the indoor sports that the schools are encountering. Throughout that, because I don't think it's an issue of schedule, because the sports do need to happen, in my opinion, because what we've encountered is the youth in GDOE are they come off with a lot of frustration. You know, mind you, they haven't had a campus. The artwork they want to put out it's very one direction. So to try and take away that frustration from them, we want to have more outlets for them, but it's very difficult when there's very limited options for them to release that type of frustration or or to release their energy in a sense. So if that's something that we can look at, I'm not sure who to address that. Yes.
I'll answer. As for using the FBLG gym during the summer months, the campus does not have an active sanitary permit, so no one is allowed on that campus.
Not specifically for this summer, but if there's some way to work with public health, or if there
we
is
have
any
to wait
way,
until the school is inspected.
I see.
In order for
but the school
occupancy.
is not scheduled to be open next school year either. So that's why I was wondering if there's a way to specifically partition off, only because I've seen it done with other schools where they condemn a certain area and then the kids only utilize one side. So if there's a way to just utilize
But that's
the gymnasium.
because they have a current sanitary permit. FBLG is overdue.
And
It's condemned.
I see.
The school is condemned. As for the Simon Sanchez
Yes.
campus, it's in the same situation. Hasn't been inspected. There is no current sanitary permit, but the rebuild project it's currently in active procurement.
Exactly.
And so nobody can be on that facility.
On the Simon Sanchez side, because it's going through the
Correct.
procurement. Okay.
Correct.
And then for FB, if there's, addressing maybe the lawmakers, I'm not sure if this is better addressed towards you. If there's a way to find some type of legislation to separate the condemnation of FB for the time being, not necessarily for the summer, but for the school sports throughout the school year, starting in maybe August. I'm not sure if that's something that we can accomplish.
May I answer, Senator? Right now, we've been to FB and there's no way we can use the gymnasium.
I see.
There's really no way. We're really working hard to finish on a target date, which is December.
Okay.
But due to the pause, we don't know what's going to happen. But the contractors are really working hard. There's like 50% right now done,
Yes.
the FB. And we're working with Senator Borja and the senators to really help us with the funding so that we can continue with the work. We don't want to stop.
Yes.
Our priority right now is FB.
Okay. But specifically targeting this topic of sports, surrounding sports, if there's
Sir,
a way to...
I can
yes.
address your concern. So I was in receipt of some concerns from the Simon Sanchez volleyball team. I know Mayor's aware of this. So
Yes.
they had been practicing up at the GDOE gymnasium, and then they were informed that there was a league starting, so they weren't going to be able to use the GDOE gym for practice anymore. And they contacted my office and asked me to assist in helping them find a solution. So our office has been working with Deputy Mayor Benavente, and one of the options that we're looking at is possibly use of the Estumbo gym on Saturday mornings. I know it's not ideal. It's not the kids were practicing in the evening, and not Stumbo, the gym, yeah, not the
Yes.
school gym, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so they were practicing in the evening, and I know Mayor was only able to offer them, I think, 6 to 8 a.m., and then it's an issue because a lot of the parents are transporting the kids or they have to work. So we're working on that, but I just got to say, my son attended FB Leon Guerrero here at Ukudu as part of the double session. He played baseball, and they absolutely did practice at FB Leon Guerrero baseball field, even though the school was not open for classes. So I'm not sure what's going on with the gymnasium, but we did have to get creative because the landlord of Ukudu didn't want to let the kids from FB practice right here at these nice fields that they have. So they had to go over to FB Leon Guerrero Middle School, which is closed down. And then, as soon as it got dark, they had to leave the facility. So I feel the pain of the Sanchez students. I was just talking with the chairman of the board here, and it really seemed like back in the day, the kids were the priority. I'm not saying anything about any mayor, but we got to support these kids. Simon Sanchez students, they're going through enough already. And so if anything, they should be able to use the facilities, in Gigo, hopefully, or Dedido. But I mean, we're already putting these kids through so much, and I don't understand what the issue is with finding them a place to practice volleyball.
Yes. Yes, so just to readdress that, coming from the office, we do really support the kids. Unfortunately, in the scheduling of that, just to clarify with a lot of the parents and students that are here, we had confirmed the league before the request came in to utilize it for the school. We did try to work with the league to remove some of their days, at which they did, thanking them. But the fact of the matter is that the Gigo Gymnasium belongs to the community, and we have to open it up to the community as well. Not to say that the students don't deserve it, being representing their school, but there are a lot of other students who didn't make the team, who did get cut, or who cannot afford to be a part of the team or can't find transportation, whatever it may be. They also need an area to release that type of frustration that they're encountering, especially this time of day, this society right now, with them not having an actual campus, going through double session, the strange schedules and the busing. And the thing is, it's if there's a way, refocusing on how to get them more support. The mayor has expressed it to me very much so to support the kids. But if this is something that we can work together on, I'm not sure if there's room in the budget, maybe, because I know that the coach at one point was paying out of pocket to rent facilities for them to practice. I'm not sure because if it's possible to build into the budget for the schools that are doing double session to maybe have some funding to rent out facilities for them to practice through the school year. I'm not sure if that's a possibility also, if the campuses are completely not available. Yes.
Hello. I just want to take my mask off so you guys can see my face. Once upon a time, well, actually I retired, but I came back in 2016, and I want to start something new. So I became a 1218. My names don't matter. My school matters. My student matters, and I'm going to represent him. I met this boy in kindergarten. Now he's moving on. He's going to graduate. He's going to be high school next school year. This boy, me and this boy, we never, if I'm not there, he'll cry. Okay? He doesn't want anybody. But here's the thing. And I thank you guys for that raise this year, I think. I'm getting older, I'm forgetting a lot of things. But I heard that they interview a 1218. Once upon a time again, I'm in elementary. My admin asked me, can you take care of this student? Can you handle it? I said, yes. So I'm pushing my boy in a wheelchair. I'm holding this boy in my left hand. and I'm holding this other boy in my right. And this one boy, I know he just follows us. I know this boy when he goes, when he runs, because he's a runner. I know this boy where he's gonna go, but I'm not gonna leave my student. My friends, my coworkers, they were laughing. They were like, "Peter, you're not a 1-to-1. You're a 1-to-4." Okay? They did an interview. They said they got hired. Lotaza funding. Okay? My administrator, all of them, they were working hard. My co-worker, 1-to-1. Even now, to this time, sometimes we're 1-to-2, sometimes we're 1-to-3. Now, what the heck is that? Way back, they said, I mean, you guys did an interview and they said no funding. And check this out. Online occupational therapy. Online. At one time, physical therapy, I said, what is physical therapy? Physical therapy is 1-to-1, face-to-face, right? Now, who's doing the work? That person online, far away? First time I met her, Kalao, her hair is messed up, and I figure out the time zone. Okay? Now, what is going on? You guys have the money. Where's the 1-to-1 aid that each school needs? Come on. You guys are, this is special need. You guys are neglecting the special need student. I went to the doctor last week. He asked me what's my job, and I told him about my student. And you know what he said? Because I told him that if I'm not there to meet him, he'll cry. So this doctor said, man, you're the second dad. And I realized that is so true because the dad drops him, I'm there. He comes and I'm not there because I'm at age right now. But I still manage. I got responsibility for my student. Sometimes I cancel my doctor's appointment just to be with this child. He's moving on. He's getting heavy. I'm lifting him up. And my doctor said, stop lifting that. Stop lifting. I'm pushing him. He said, don't push him anymore. Now what the heck? This is a special needs child. And you guys spending money for online? What is that? Now we're quiet here, right? Because I'm not saying anything that's not true. And here's the thing about it. I'm not going to even mention her name. Board of Education came up, and she was standing there observing me. And she said, I'm here because downtown don't want to come up to the school. I'm here to see what's happening. So she was observing me when my boy showed up. And she said, I'm going to let downtown know. And what? Where's the 1-to-1 aid? Ma'am, sir? Our 1-to-1 aid are really, I don't know. This is just me. Sometimes I don't want to wake up and come to school and not, I just want to be with my student, but I cover each one of us in my school, cover each other. My admin, she don't need to direct any of us because we already know what's to be done. Now, our boss, my principal, my supervisor, they got their hands full. But as a 1-to-1, and we really work together as a co-worker, okay? Now, what is that? Where is this 1-to-1 aid? They did the interview, and they said, you're hired, but we just don't know when you're going to start because TAZA funding, no funding. That's all I have. And like I say, my name don't matter, but my student matters.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for coming up, sir, and bringing up your concerns. I'm over here. So Tom Babauta, we've worked together before. I've done training with you. Anyway, maybe I could just address this really complex situation. I oversee special education, and I came on board exactly 39 months ago. And one of the things that was on the top of my to-do list was to address the issue of the lack of paraeducators. So on Guam, we look at one-to-one as the go-to standard. But in the rest of the country, we look at 1-to-2, 1-to-3, 1-to-4. It really is based on the student's needs. So I agree, though, the work that the paraeducators are doing, the adult support, is critical, especially based on each specific student, not just their academics, not just their physical needs, just holistic. And I do agree, many times, you know, it is like family, right? When you come on, the paraeducator adult support meets the child, spends the entire day with the child goes home, right? And then that learning continues at the home. The issue that we're having is very complex. So let me kind of break it down for you. Initially, when I first came on board in 1999, and those of you who know me have heard this story, we had less than 100 aides. We are now pushing 400 aides. So school teams make the determination that they require full assistance, and then they send the request downtown. So while that increase went from 100 to 400, the funding did not change. We cannot say it's based on funding, but we need to be practical. We need to be frugal, right? We need to, so what we did 3 years ago, we had an expert come in to look at our programming, to look at what exactly is going into the support for these students. And one of the recommendations was for us to look at maximization of each of these individuals. So if you have a student, they may require a one-to-one, but they may also require just at certain times of the day. And one thing that we're really trying to remember is, as these students get out into the community, they need to be independent. So what we're trying to do is ultimately wean them off and have them to be as independent as possible, right? So just to let you know, we also have about 2 or 3 students that are a 2-to-1. So let me break that down. You know, I hate to do this in terms of numbers and finances, but it costs $45,000 for each paraeducator, right? So when you have a 1-to-1, that's $45,000 that is identified to work with that student. Again, every penny is worth it if those students are making progress. But now that we have 400, and then we also had a situation where we cannot keep up with the supply and demand. This is a very taxing job, right? So if any of you have been caregivers, you know how we have a high turnover rate, a high burnout rate, and it's an entry-level job. So one thing that we're doing is we're converting all of those positions to disability aid right now, a developmental disability aid. The other thing that we were doing was we were able to do a full-time, limited-term full-time position so that we could at least take care of our paras a little bit more. So some other things that we're doing, and I think what we need to do is maybe spend a couple hours in a work session and invite the community, because this is very complex. And I'm going to tell you a little something. About 3 weeks ago, I filed a complaint. Part of my job is ensuring that support happens for these students. I filed a complaint against myself, against the department, okay? Because I want to make sure that it's looked at from outside eyes, and I want to make sure that those people that we're maximizing the use of our program, and we want to make sure that that program is what needs to be in place. We also are trying to hire a consulting firm or actually a university that works with all of the different entities in the mainland that looks at the maximization of paraeducators. So it's a very complex situation. And one piece of information I want to share with you is we use paraeducators twice as much as the rest of the country. So why is that? Why is it that per capita, we're using twice as many aides as as the rest of the country. It's because we have some unique situations here, but at the same time, we need to really look at this from all the different angles. So I wish it was as simple as, let's go ahead and provide the funding, but the reality is we're about 5.5 million short. And if we can first off look at, is this the appropriate way to use paraeducators? Because I'm sure some of you have been to schools and you realize that some paraeducators are not always right there hip to hip and helping out, right? So we want to make sure that we're maximizing that. But if it were up to me, I would rather have all of our paraeducators permanized. I'd rather have all of our paraeducators in place, because every morning the school administrators have to figure out who's called in sick, who needs to cover down, and they're scrambling at 5, 6 in the morning to make sure that that school is safe for the rest of the day. And ma'am, I know that I'm not overseeing student support, but I've been in many meetings where student safety is a big concern, whether it's from paraeducators or it's with just the overall general climate. So we moved to positive behavior supports about 20 years ago, where we're really trying, that's why when you go into most schools, you could see the behavioral expectations. We're trying to teach and catch students doing good. We're trying to set that model and make sure that the overall support is there. But we also know that there's always going to be some students that require that assistance. So I think, I'm jumping around here a lot, but I want to make sure that you understand we've taken this seriously. We're looking at this from different angles. But in 2009, the Evergreen report, that when they looked at our programming, in 2009, when we only had 200 aides, they said that we have too many aides. And that's why, if you're wondering why we don't fully fund with all the federal funding, it's because 16.5 million of our 19 million or 20 million goes just to paraeducators. So I wish we could just say, okay, hey, we could just provide all the paraeducators, but it's not that simple. So I've really been working with all the folks, at the table here and then some. We created a paraeducator committee. We're looking at different ways where we can maximize. But at the end of the day, that gentleman is right. We have IEPs that are not compliant, and we have students that are not getting what they're supposed to based on that IEP. So I am committed. I know the team is committed. We're going to look for ways to make sure that each of those kids, based on those IEPs, get what they need. Right. So we're looking to hire 68 paraeducators right now. But again, supply and demand. As soon as we pick up those 68, we're going to probably lose 30 of them because we have others that are burned out, or they get a better opportunity, a better job. So we're always chasing this, and we're never able to catch up. And in addition, we keep getting more requests for paraeducators. So it's a really complex situation. I wish it was as simple as, hey, just hire 150 additional aides and we're okay. But it's not that simple, and then there goes in training, and then you have to have the right mindset. So I think what we'll do is we'll call, we've been having several parent meetings with community members for special education over the last couple of years. I think we'll dedicate a work session and we can bring everybody in, and then that way we can kind of break it down and really help everybody to understand. But I want you to know that we're committed from central office. If the narrative out there is that we're not supportive of the schools, we're far from that. Okay, we're trying to do everything we can to support the schools. That's our only existence, is to support those students at the schools and support the schools. But it's really hard if, I'm reaching into a candy jar to give candy and there's no candy in the candy jar anymore, right? So we're needing to figure out how we can replenish that candy jar. Okay, so before I sit down, any other questions about paraeducators? That way I don't have to get 10,000 steps. Oh, yes.
Thank you very much for allowing me to talk. I'm Mrs. Carmen Casper-Bauer. Both my husband and I were former senators, and we're very concerned parents and grandparents. And I just want to say, Senator Barnett, you're here, and all of you panel that are up here, thank you for coming to show your concern. I would like to find out if Senator Barnett will consider allowing in the DOE's budget for anger management program in all the schools, not only for teachers but the students, and also find a way to get our parents to be involved in their children's education, because the more parents' involvement is a real big asset financially and socially, not only for the school but for the children. When the children see that their parents are coming to the school, it gives them pride and it lessens a lot of the destructiveness or disruption, and they have a better ability for continuing their education because they're more emotionally stable. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator N.T. Carmen. I'm committed to work with the chair of the committee, Senator Borja. And I'm not sure if you're talking about anger management funding at the schools. Are we talking about in a curriculum standpoint for the students? Okay, so maybe Mr. Sanchez can answer that, but I know that a lot of the guidance counselors and other supporting staff are moving towards a lot of mental health work at the schools, because as you know, our youth are facing so many mental health challenges. So there's a renewed focus and attention to those issues over the last few years since the COVID-19 pandemic. So I thank you for your support. And again, I'm committed to work with Senator Borja to do what we have to do. Stefan, the budget for GDOE, is that April 30?
Yes.
April 30 is the budget hearing for GDOE. Si los wasi.
2 p.m. It's at 2 p.m.
A las dos.
Okay, that's good. That's his birthday.
Oh, good. Happy birthday, Senator Casper Bauer. You got a birthday
Thank
present
you.
for you. You're going to get gray hairs some more.
Good, Joe.
Yeah, I just wanted to say we absolutely support that. In fact, just recently, our island-wide Board of Governing Students sponsored a summit for students related to their social and emotional wellness. And there have been other presentations by our school psychologists and other counselors throughout the district. And whenever these happen, there's like an overwhelming support of expanding it. So it's definitely something that we intend to do throughout the entire district. Things like anger management, stress and anxiety control, things like that have definitely been very popular, and we do support that idea.
Thank you, Mr. Sanchez.
Hi, good evening. I'm Melissa Mofnes, the principal for FB. I just wanted to clarify the narrative for Ethan. Ethan, you know, the use of the gym, right? We appreciate the GDOE mayor helping us, but we have tried to find solutions as to other opportunities, even with working, but we meet with the GDOE mayor once a month. So I'm not sure if those concerns could have came up with us so that we can better explain why. As for GEF not allowing us about the lights, right? About the use of the field, the lights weren't working, and so we had to be creative of some sort. And so my athletic director, as well as some of our parents, were asking, where else can we go? So we reached out to the GDOE mayor, right? And we asked the office if they could. I know that it causes schedule conflicts, but it's very hard to practice here. At one point, we were practicing over at our school, but that was before construction. And it was easier for our students to go from there, practice, shower, and then come over here because they could ride the bus. But now that there's work on the school, we can't use it because construction starts and we can't use it. But if there was other alternatives that we could use, we've tried looking at other mayor's office to see if we can, but transportation is going to be the biggest challenge for these parents. And so, of course, right, we like to figure out how to split the school or the gym in half. But even here, when we've tried to work with Ms. Flores, it's hard because our coaches, who are sometimes our teachers, cannot coach, it conflicts, right? They have to wait until after school, there's no lights. But we try to make accommodations for that. And so I just like everybody to know, even the community, that we try to do our best to try to accommodate our students and practices. But it's really hard with trying to figure out how to work the schedules with the parents. The parents have to drop them and then pick them up because school doesn't start until 1:30, but they get to come in starting at 12:30. So it's really hard, and we try to work with, and so we appreciate that that the mayor is helping us, but at the same token, where else can we go, right? And so we really, I mean, I just appreciate that everybody is trying to help, but I need the community and the GDOE mayor's office to also understand that it's hard for us. Of course, we'd like to go back to school. We're trying to put something together and pushing forward. We did have traction started where they gutted our school and they fixed stuff, but unfortunately with the federal funding, it has to cease and stop. So I just wanted to correct it that it's not that GEF didn't want us to use the campus. It's dark and it gets very dark here. And truly, if we could use it and then parents wanted to use floodlights because they still wanted to have practices, we have to get 10 practices in. And so how can we do that in terms of meeting the requirement to play? And our students want to play regardless of whether they try to lose that 10 practice times. So we do. We absolutely try, and sometimes it's not, the community doesn't always know, right? And sometimes it's an outside perspective, but at any point, if you guys have any questions, I mean, we're supposed to meet once a month with the GDOE mayor's office. If there are things that we can do to work together with Dr. Adames, we'd be more than happy. But again, it really takes patience of the community and parents. And parents have tried to they took their floodlights, the 80 took lights and tried to connect here. But until we had the lights fixed. And then of course, once the construction started, we could not go onto campus anymore. And truly, it's easier for the kids from the GDOE gym to just go to the bus stop, ride the bus, and then come to Ukadu. Same with when it was at FB, they would just go across, ride the bus, and come here. And parents would not need to drop them. And that was where we tried to draw a line of trying to, work the schedule. But again, trying to get coaches to to coach in the morning was very difficult because they have a job also. So even us, we have, our games start at 3:30, 4:30. We're still in session until 6. So we have to do some accommodation. I just wanted everybody to know that it's not that we're just, not trying to have the students have sports. We do. And my staff try to do that as well, but it's hard. But we try to do what we can, and we still continue to put education first. And so I just wanted to make sure that we understood that there are obstacles that happen that prevent us from continuing to do what we used to do a year ago or 2 years ago. Okay? Thank you.
Hi, good evening. My name is Mr. Romelo Senior. I am the athletic director for Tiyan High School. I also teach 9th grade honors, and I'm also one of the advisors for our student government who is over here, representing our wonderful school and our wonderful faculty and admin. And this is?
My name is Ms. Fiona Hernandez. I'm an English teacher at Tiyan High School, as well as a department chair, and I advise 3 clubs.
Hi, I'm Dr. Rachel Flores. I'm the Career Academy Coordinator at Tiyan High School. I'm also an advisor for the student body, Junior Achievement, and our Career Academy ambassadors.
So I want to ask forgiveness for being brash, but I'm just going to rip the Band-Aid like real quick. I think that we came here for a reason. Simon Sanchez came here for a reason. We just want to know because we've been hearing rumors, whispers. We've seen the board meetings. And we just want to know, where does the board and the senators stand on the future of Tiyan High School and Simon Sanchez?
So to follow with what Mr. Lucini was talking about, I wanted to kind of start off with, we just put this together right now because we were thinking while we were listening, and a lot of what we're hearing is, or what we've been hearing outside of these walls at board meetings and things that are broadcast but not really open. No one's telling this to our faces. No one's saying this to our faces. So I just want to start Tiyan High School started out as a shell. We were not just a shell, we were a U shell. We had 2 other temporary occupants that went back to their own renovated and newly built homes. We were a space that was meant to take the overflow of burgeoning classrooms and overworked staff. We were a hollow of beige and brown walls and blue and yellow tinged fluorescent lighting, but we are no longer this shell, this space, this hollow. In the past decade, our students, our parents, our faculty, our staff, our admin, and our industry partners have filled our walls with meaning and purpose and life. We've educated and graduated thousands of students, some of whom have returned to teach. Though our history and traditions are not as robust as others, we have made up for them with quality and quantity. Deputy Sanchez spoke of PLCs and understanding the standards. Tiyan has been fully implementing standards and standards-based grading for many years. We've successfully achieved accreditation for both WASC and NCAC, the latter of which is the only one in the entire region. Deputy Sanchez also mentioned movements toward career technical education. As the only nationally recognized and accredited career academy, we are that movement. But this is not a comparison game, because all 6 high schools should be kept open and made whole. If we're trying to justify existence, though really we shouldn't have to, then we should have both our past and our future as justifications. The potential of our school seems to be wanting to be snuffed out in the face of backdoor deals and behind-the-hand murmurings. If you have reasons to do so, tell us all stakeholders to our faces. Viable reasons that overcome all the good we've done and will continue to do. So I'm the pathos here. I'd like to continue with our reasons.
I do have 3 reasons. Number 1, Tiyan is built for the future. Beyond the high school, we are fully aligned to GDOE's goal of college and career readiness. We have career academies, CTE programs, and if Tiyan were to close, those programs would not simply transfer very easily. They would be disrupted or lost entirely. Workforce development, which we've been working very, very heavily on, would suffer, and students would lose opportunities that we have taken years to build. Number 2, Tiyan High School has earned the trust of students, families, but also our community and professional partners. Closing our school would break that trust and possibly hurt GDOE's credibility. It would signal that the investment, pride, and partnership don't mean anything. And at this time, GDOE needs that public support, so we cannot afford that. Point number 3, our students, as all students, have already faced pandemic, shutdowns, typhoons, online learning, other types of disruptions, and Tiyan High School has still shown growth. So closing us now would show them that their resilience is for nothing. We should be strengthening their hope and not pulling the ground from beneath them. And to be clear, this is not about choosing between schools. We are not suggesting that any other school be put through this either. No community deserves to be fractured. We must find the solutions that protect all of our students here on Guam, which is why we're all here tonight. So to continue, Tiyan High School did start as a shell, but through our hard work and hope, it became a home, and it has become our future. So we are asking you not to abandon the dream that we've all built. We ask you to protect it and strengthen it and let our Titans and all of our students rise even higher. Thank you.
Here it is. I haven't received the final recommendation from the superintendent and the deputies, which is due actually 2 days from today, April 30th. But as I am standing here, I can assure you that the Titans will continue to have a home. We have seen the progress of Tiyan. I've attended your graduations. I've gone to your gym and attended things that were happening there. I was there a couple of weeks ago when they had the robotics display, and I saw some of your students. No one wants to close a school. In some places, we have to face reality and do it. But in this case, when you have so much success, so much going for your own students and graduates, as the chair of the Guam School Board, and I again want to let it be known that I speak personally because it takes the rest of the board to agree with me. But if I had any way to convince them, Tiyan will stay a high school. Thank you very much.
And to respond to the, the addressing the legislature or at least the Committee on Education in regard to Tiyan, I don't think Tiyan, it's not even on the list of things that were considered. Was it brought up? Yes. But it was definitely not one of the solutions to addressing the double session concern, which was really where I facilitated a conversation at the time with the FBLG, Simon Sanchez, JFK, I think Ukudu was there. We had a task force initial meeting, even at the time when, the only option at that time that was brought up was about combining Tiyan High School with one of the other schools as an option. But like the chair said, Mr. Saban said, that recommendation is going to come from the superintendent and his team, presented to the board, and they make the decision. My job in facilitating that conversation will and always be, how can we support the efforts and initiatives of the department? And that's where we stand as the legislature, at least on the Committee on Education.
It's at this point, it's premature for me to give the final recommendation to the board. However, I'm in agreement with what you just presented. The growth and achievements of the staff and the students at Tiyan High School deserve to be preserved and carried on, and I know I am not going to make a recommendation that has anything to do with closing down a successful high school. That's not what we're here to do.
Half a day. I'm Mrs. Martinez. Most of you probably know or seen me before. I'm a parent to 5 teens at Simon Sanchez High School who are all part of club sports, and they travel to represent Guam. I'm also the PIO president that just established this year at Simon Sanchez, just to help gather and be a voice for those parents and to get all the information that the school wants to pass out to the parents. My concern is what a lot of people had concerned earlier. I'm just going to speak up on what the parents have been asking me to help out on. I'm talking about also our sports at this school. You guys all know that we were using Simon Sanchez. The kids had no problem. They were using it even when it was Mudu, there was no air, whatever, but it was still home. Unfortunately, our girls basketball this year, they went and had an inspection from what I'm told, and it failed. So they were no longer able to use it. My son is part of the volleyball team. He's also part of the traveling team. The mayors, they helped get us a spot to practice. However, like they said, they're trying to accommodate everybody. They're trying to accommodate FB, trying to accommodate everybody. And like Senator Barnett said, 6 to 8 is just not possible for our kids. We may have did it on a Saturday. That's an option on a Saturday because they don't have school on Sunday. But these kids are going to represent Guam. They're practicing 2-3 days a week, whatever it is. There's different teams. You got our school team, and you also got our ONRA team, which is the traveling team, to represent Guam. So we all know it takes practice, practice, practice. It's very hard to stop within a season and try to find another location. Of course, our coaches are great, and they're like, okay, we're gonna figure it out, and they try to figure it out. But of course, parents get frustrated. Parents do not want to keep changing stuff, changing dates, times, because you all know you got to make arrangements for your other kids, and you got to make arrangements through your work and stuff like that. And then the kids, 6 to 8, they got to get to school at 11 o'clock or ride their bus or whatever. There's still a lot of students that, travel through the busing services and whatever, and it's just difficult. We don't have much time at school, so if they're so tired from practice, it's hard to learn. The situation for them just seems to, like, it's just becoming very impossible. I appreciate everybody. There's been a lot of people that's been helping. Recently, our coach was able to secure through our old mayor. He was able to, the sisters, the Dominican was off, they gave one of our leagues space to practice at Dominican with, I believe, not paying, but to do some like community service for them, maybe clean their school or stuff, and that's hearsay what I'm hearing. That's the exchange, and so he took that. But we still have our traveling team. This is Simon Sanchez ONRA team that they're going to Talafofo. These are the things that FB, Simon Sanchez, we're all going through the same situation, and we hear it time after time before election. It's for the kids. It's for the kids. It's for the kids. Everything's for the kids. But when it comes down to it, I'm sure a lot of people are so afraid to speak up. They don't want to speak up because they don't want to stand on anybody's toes. They don't want to be the bad guy. But somebody does have to do the dirty work and speak up. That if we're really for the kids, we need to come together and find a solution that's going to work for these school leagues. I understand that the community, because I was one of them that wanted my kids randomly to go out there and play ball. But put the school leagues versus people that randomly want to just go out and play ball, you guys choose. Who? The school leagues that are going to represent Guam, that they're going to be out there, they will have their time when they go in. Yes, I understand. I perfectly understand if you didn't make the team and you just want to play ball. I mean, there's a gym, there's a basketball thing right there in front of the Manungko, but our kids that are playing sports and are traveling to represent Guam, they need a full court to practice. They can't, you can't put a certain thing in front of another when it only makes sense to give it to these schools, these athletes. And then a few time for them, because we're not going to leave out the little ones, of course, but it should not be equal time. Our sports and our kids trying to graduate and make a life for themselves and get whatever recruitments and whatever sports should come first, because we say our kids, we say school. So let's continue to do that. Everybody should come together here and find out before the school years what sports, what whatever it's called, sports they have going on in the schools. We know the months, the dates, it's already planned, and make sure that they have a place to practice. I find that very odd that coaches have to keep continuing to find places, such as when we already know that schools are not going to be built within the next. Is there any way that we can put our minds together for this upcoming year and figure out for those that have no home to go to, no court of their own, and figure out and give them the allotted time that they need?
I agree, ma'am. In the government of Guam, I don't think we're supposed to run these mayor's offices like a business. I think the priority has to be the kids, and we all know what's going on with Simon Sanchez. And frankly, when I got that email in my inbox at the office, I was kind of shocked because my first thought was, Leche, we're putting Simon Sanchez and all these other FB, Leon Guerrero, through all these challenges, and we need our government, all parts of our government, to support the kids. They have to be the absolute priority. So thank you for standing up and speaking out. I absolutely agree. I'm trying to find a solution, you know what I mean? Hopefully temporarily they can maybe get into one of the gyms in Derrida in the morning, but I just want to say to all the mayors, we're giving you these budgets at the legislature, and at least in my mind as a senator, we absolutely have to prioritize our kids, because we know these kids aren't rich, you know what I mean? They need these sports activities to stay off of drugs and to stay out of trouble, and I believe it's an obligation of our government to support these kids as much as we can. And since you just formed the PTO at Sanchez, I just want to remind you, check Deputy Superintendent Wade Paul, because I appropriated $5,000 for each of the PTOs. So if you're registered, they're doing it on a reimbursement scheme. So just be sure to reach out to Deputy Superintendent Paul. Sido Smasi, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Susan Swansea. I'm actually very aware of that. We're actually trying, because we haven't had a PTO in so long. We are trying to actually, one of the rules is that we must be established with the revenue and tax. So we have been working very hard to get on top of that. Another question I just forgot to put out there, because we knew that Simon Sanchez, it was hard to raise our sport. Everybody was like, well, didn't you guys raise money? We tried a lot to raise money. Our kids were doing everything, but of course, there was so many rules that they couldn't sell this, they couldn't do this and stuff like that. And they tried to, the admin tried so hard, and they were doing all these things to try to raise money, but of course, they weren't able to raise a whole lot of money. You know, a lot of the kids had to fork out 100% of all their uniforms and everything. I wanted to ask, and I didn't even check just yet, because somebody had just privately messaged me and asked if I checked, is there a budget for our sports committee for the schools that's just allotted to sports, so that in the event that these kids need to pay for venues, or while they're traveling to pay for league fees and stuff, is there any funding allotted for the schools?
Hi, ma'am. So to answer your first concern about the sports schedules coming out and why don't they have a designated facility to practice, I'm just summarizing what you said. So monthly, the Board of Control for the ISA, the Interscholastic Sports Association, they meet. It consists of the athletic directors. I'm in the meetings. Deputy Joe is also there. And we actually discuss the concerns of each sport. We verify if there's a facility for them to practice, what are the concerns, and we try to network within the group to see, you know, for example, I know with Southern High, they actually had their facilities are condemned. So they were able to get alternate arrangements to use the Talafofo field, but the problem became transportation. So there's just a whole bunch of issues, but just know that it's being discussed on a monthly basis, and we do our best to try to make it work. The other concern about money that's available for athletics, interscholastic sports, the money will be for salaries, for officiating costs, and then we also have a small portion of the budget for equipment. So when it comes to uniforms, that is something that the school will have to raise.
Okay, so does that apply to league fees and being able, if we needed to rent an actual gym or anything, or pay for the gyms?
So you would have to speak to the school's athletic director and the administration to see how they're using the gate fees for each game that's being played. The home school charges the gate fees.
Oh, no, I'm not talking about the gate fees and stuff. I'm talking about the funding. Is it allotted to pay for the league fees and
officiating is
the
what we're
rental
looking
of
at.
gyms? Like how
No.
Sanchez doesn't have a gym.
Yeah.
If we needed to pay for these locations, because of course the kids cannot fund these
Yeah,
things.
it doesn't cover that. And so what we do in the Board of Control meetings, when they finalize the schedule of where they practice, where they're going to have their games, where they're going to have the playoffs and the championship games, it's all factored in those meetings.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good evening, I'm Jordan Kalimlim. I'm a junior at Okudu High School. Thank you for allowing our school to host this town hall meeting. I would like to begin as a junior of the class of 2026. We would be the last class after the graduating class of 2025 to experience the full schedule. And with that, we had many of activities, and I think some of you guys were there when they had that assembly where they announced double session with FBLG. We were told as students, that's just life. We're gonna have to accept being in double session, and we actually managed to do that. And as a person who was a freshman at the time, we were told they would be out our senior year. the target date that was mentioned was December, and it doesn't look like that will be when FBLG leaves. Okudu was the first GDOE school to enter double session at the start of 2023, before Marwar and before many of the schools moved into double session. Today, we are the only other school besides JFK to be in double session without a lot of opposition. And there's been talks about, as FBLG moves out of double session with Okudu, when or if that happens, Okudu will be housing Simon Sanchez. And this will be another problem and just kicking down the can in the road to give Okudu students less time in school and canceling of our activities. And it's not fair for us Bulldogs. We've been hosting the Hawks, and we deserve to be out of the double session, or at least have answers now whether or not next school year or the following school year for the class of 2027, if Simon Sanchez will be in double session. And I would also just like to reiterate, as a student body, we support the status quo as we can bear with it for now. But will Simon Sanchez, when FBLG is out, come to Okudu High School?
I don't think that was even an option. You want to answer that? Is that even an option?
No. So there was a survey that went out 2 weeks ago, and the options that were listed as they apply to high school, probably the only one that would be relevant to Ukudu would be, sorry, I'm even thinking about the high schools, would be to reassign attendance areas for all high school students. But the commander, the Committee on Maximizing District Resources, it consisted of all the middle school and high school principals along with the division heads. We met, we took a look at the survey results. We even went one step further and discussed what are the pros and cons if we took FBLG students and we reassigned them to other nearby middle schools. Same thing with Simon Sanchez, if we just focused on reassigning them to other nearby high schools. And so we put our report together, we gave our options to Dr. Swanson, who will in turn present his recommendations to Mr. Sablan, the Guam Education Board Chair, and their next board meeting is next week, Tuesday, 4 p.m. at the first floor gallery in the district office.
Could I ask a follow-up question to that? In addition to the option of redistricting, I think in the survey, a lot of Okudu students, if there is a redistricting, we would be redistrict out of Okudu into JFK. And that's also why our student body opposes that. Mr. Swanson, the due date for that decision is in 2 days. Do you have some type of idea of what the next following year will be? And if so, because we had legislative hearings where Okudu students heard the talk of Simon Sanchez coming to Okudu High School.
Well, I do appreciate the question and certainly the concern, and I understand it. I've received the information from the committee, and I'm going through that. At this point, I'm pretty well focused on the decision I'd like to make, but I haven't had the opportunity to share it with the board chair and make it public. But I do understand your concern, and I don't disagree with it. So the the objective is to get everybody back in their own school as quickly as we can with efforts that we can afford, and that definition has changed drastically in the last month because of changes in federal funding that drive a number of the projects that this is all depending on. So I will be presenting the board chair with my findings based on the survey. And by the way, the response level from Ukudu and from Simon Sanchez was significant. Over 800 students responded. So I mean, that you really brought your voice, and we're paying attention to that. So the information you've given us to work from is valid, and it's worthwhile. And like I said, I'll be presenting that information Mr. Sablon this week so that he has it, and then it will also go to the board along with all of the research, the raw data to include all the survey responses, even the comments that people made on the items. So they'll have all that information to make their decision on.
I just have one last follow-up question regarding all the stress and like the environment of GDOE and federal funding. Dr. Swanson, there's a lot of talk, but do you intend in remaining as the superintendent of GDOE until how long?
Let's put it this way. I've never quit a job in my life.
Hello, my name is Mary Jo Relativo. I am from Jigo. I grew up in Jigo, went to Jigo Elementary. Now it's called DL Paris. I went to Simon Sanchez as a junior high, and then on to JFK. Then I left Guam, traveled, ended up in Alaska for over 30 years. And to pull the Band-Aid, as they said, here's some questions that I have, and I just don't understand it. My background is government contracts. I worked for the federal government, and I retired. And I did contracts. And in the federal government, September 30th of every year, the money goes away. It expires. You use it or you lose it. And this is what happened to you guys. You guys lost it. Okay? Again, I got a lot of questions. Why is there the sanitation permits not? Why is it overdue? That's my question. Preventive maintenance. How come we don't have preventive maintenance in our school? My son went to West High School in Anchorage, Alaska. It was the first high school in Anchorage. It was called Anchorage High. It was built in 1953. It is still standing today. Simon Sanchez was built in 1974. I checked, I just opened up the Simon Sanchez website. It says temporary closed. No, it's permanently closed. It's permanent, right? I have family members who went to Simon Sanchez and they went through with no AC. Now my youngest niece is going to JFK half session. That's unacceptable. GDOE board, how long have you guys been in your job? That's my question. How come the bills are not getting paid on time or not at all? I don't understand that. You guys have a budget. I don't understand that. Do you guys understand that? Huh? You know, you have a budget. You stay with your budget. You don't rob Paul to pay Peter. In government contract, in the federal government, each has a color of money. So that money belongs to maintenance. The money is built new construction. All of that, it has a name. So why are we not paying our bills? Young students who are still going to school, look up the butterfly effect. Look it up, because it impacts all of us. I don't have a child in school, okay? But it still impacts me. And everybody here, I talked to my family to come here tonight. They said, you know what? It's the same old, same old. Same old. I'm too tired. And then when I came back to Guam, they said, this is Guam. Welcome to Guam. I didn't like that, because this was my home. I grew up here. Even though I have traveled and left, this is still my home. But I'm just very disappointed, especially Simon Sanchez. Lots of memories there. Why? Why is it down? Why does my niece have to be bused to JFK? I love JFK. Grad of 81, green machine, right? But why? You kids, you parents should not give up. and you should ask this question. Campaigning was promises made, promises broken. For the children. You guys campaign for the children. But when? 2018 came and went. 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024, and guess what? It's 2025. You think it's gonna happen this year, girls? Anybody? Do you have any confidence that they're gonna happen? No. So I have a lot of questions. I'm glad you peeled the Band-Aid because I was just gonna sit here and take a lot of notes, but I just couldn't sit and be quiet. So anyway, that's my last comment is like, you guys have a budget. You guys lost the money. It's shame. It's a shame. Did any of you said, we failed you? Did anybody say that? We failed you, kids. So, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for your questions. But can I just address the sanitary permit? I'm not sure if you were here earlier. We made a presentation. We're way ahead with our sanitary permit. All the schools have permits right now. So I just want to make that clear. I'm not sure what sanitary permit are we talking about, but we're way ahead. We're really passing. And, you know, I wish you were here earlier. And, yeah, when it comes to budget, I'm going to pass you with our DFAS, Mr. Deputy Paul Wade.
Hi, ma'am. It's great to talk to a former federal budget analyst, I'm assuming. Oh, contracting officer, okay. So I did comptroller work in the Army, and taking this job with the Guam Department of Education, it is a totally different animal. You know, with the federal government, you're correct. We have to spend the money by the 30th of September. Regarding the grants, I think there's a misconception out there because 2 articles came out in the media. One was about grants that we lost 26 million. We are trying to, so everybody understands, each of these grants have certain periods of performance, okay? We get to the obligation period where we've got to obligate the contracts, and then we have liquidation periods where we have to liquidate the funds that are tied to those contracts. The problem we had was liquidating. Now we had one grant, which I presented to the legislature at the last hearing, the ESFF grant, where we did bring in 110 million to Guam for our GDOE. Of that grant, we left, it was like a 97% obligation rate. So that's a success story. With the 26 million grant, that's a group of funds that are a group of grants that, yes, we did return, or we did not use portions of those funds, okay? But it doesn't mean that it's over, because, for example, one of the grants, the Consolidated Grant 22, we have gone back to the U.S. Department of Education, and this does happen. It's frowned upon, but we have asked to reopen that grant. So the 13.8 million that was in that grant may not be completely lost. We're waiting on the Department of Education to inform us if they will open the grant, and they've done it in the past. The misconception is, so we had this story about the 26 million, and then we have the ARP grant. Now the ARP grant, we had everything obligated. This was not a matter of not using the money. This was, the ARP, the American Rescue Plan, was a matter of the U.S. Department of Education changing their policy We were initially told we had until March of 2026 to use those funds. And all of a sudden, in February, they told us, actually in March, they told us, on March 28th, you can no longer use those funds effective today, basically. And so that's what we're trying to, we've submitted requests, especially for our large contracts, the refurbishment contracts, the air conditioning and FBLG. We've requested to USAID to open, to keep their promise and let us liquidate those funds through March 26th. And we're still waiting on an answer from USAID. But that wasn't a matter of not using the money. All the money was obligated. We were granted previously a late liquidation approved by the Department of Education, U.S. Department of Education, up to March of 2026 to use, to liquidate all those contracts. And then suddenly it was stopped based on the new Secretary of the Department of Education. Last thing I'd like to mention is you talked about paying our bills. If you look at our aging report, our local bills are pretty current. We have one issue on there, which has been an issue since 2015 about GDOE paying the retirement fund, the Guam Retirement Fund, $66,000. It's not, it's an issue that is not impacting any of our employees. They're getting their full retirement. It's penalty fees back in 2015 that GDOE was told you should pay this. We didn't have the money, so this is the history. Now, I've only been with the department since July of last year. But this, on the local aging report, we are pretty good, other than that one issue. The federal side is where you see we're having a hard time paying our bills. Part of that is some of these grants, like the ARP, previously we cannot pay based on the public law. We cannot pay federal bills, it's in the budget law, that are not on a reimbursable basis. The public law says we can only pay federal bills if it is on a reimbursable basis. The process, especially for ARP, before we received this message on March 28th, was we would get the invoice from the vendors. Our accountants will cross-check those invoices to ensure that the items delivered on the invoices match with the contracts, and then we would submit the invoices to our internal audit office. They would also review them, and then a draw would be requested. That money would come in, it would go into our accounts, we would then pay the bill. Now the Department of Education is asking us to pay those bills first and ask reimbursement. So in some instances, we've been able to do that during the month of March, when they told us in February, you're not getting this money unless you pay it first. So in March, we paid $8 million worth of ARP bills, and we got some reimbursement back. But then on March 28th, it sort of changed. They're requiring any of those bills, they have to be related to COVID, which they all were initially. They were all approved by the U.S. Department of Education initially as being related to COVID when we obligated the funds. I don't know if that answers your question, ma'am. Would you like to ask further? The point is, don't confuse, when did we get the money? We don't get the money. Yeah. There's states, the entire United States, this policy by the U.S. Department of Education is impacting every Department of Education across the United States. 13 states have filed a lawsuit against the U.S. Department of Education because we obligated these funds based upon the assurance that the U.S. Department of Education was going to release these funds to us to pay for those contracts. And now they've changed the policy. We have 170-some million worth of ARP contracts that we were trying to liquidate until March of 26. And then the U.S. Department of Education changed the policy. Said you have to pay the bill first. Guam Department of Education does not have that kind of money to pay federal bills. So to answer your question, no, we never got the money because the process previously was to receive the invoice, send it to the Department of Education, and get the draw. The money comes into the account, we pay the bill. Now, U.S. Department of Education is, no, you pay the bill first. And then, based on our Zoom conference with them last Friday, they're not even assuring us that they will reimburse us after we've made the payment. So these are the problems we're having.
Thank you, Mr. Wade.
Sorry, I'm a little stiff for sitting here so long. Thank you. I'm going to be a little different, I think, than some of these comments. First of all, I want to congratulate and thank all these students for not only being here, but staying here. It's really a great thing. And the parents also. And I'm happy to note that my former colleague, Senator Wampet, was or is here, and my former Board of Ed member, Pete Add, is here. And all of you, you're up in front, you can't leave, so thank you for staying. And we've been together quite a while. I'd like to be a little different here. I wonder how many of you know or have ever heard of Public Law -26-61. That was one of mine and the legislature. That's the bill, the law that resulted in Guam building this school, Ukadu, Atacao, Liguan, there are 5 of them, 5 schools.
Middle.
Which one? Anyway, 5 schools. No appropriation from Guam ahead of time. It was based on the law that allowed us to enter, the government of Guam, to enter a contract with a company that put all the money forward and built all of these schools in nothing flat. And they were designed, those 5 schools, by architects in Florida who did nothing but build schools. So you students and those of you here at Ukadu, you have a very special school. Your principal can look out of her office or his office, whoever it is, and see the front door of every classroom because the hallways do not go in the traditional way. The school was designed by architects who do nothing but that. And the contract with the company that did it, they put forward all the money to build the 5 schools in no time flat. And it was a 20 or up to maximum of 30 years for Gov Guam to pay it back. These schools were built on land trust land, so the land was provided. And the company has, I don't know whether it's a 20, 25, or maximum of 30 years, that the company that built the school is responsible for the maintenance of these schools. It's in the contract. It's in the law. I don't know if that's being done. How many of you know that? And so I just wanted to share that. So as we look, and also someone commented about the falling apart of Simon Sanchez. Our house up the road here, we moved in 1974, the same time our children were in junior high at Sanchez. Our house is still as good as it was or better than it was in 1974 because we look after it and take care of it. It's quite obvious that that has not happened at Sanchez. Now, maybe it was a different contractor who built it, but I just really am sad to hear that and to know that. I would suggest you all take a look at Public Law 26-61. You might want to look into the possibility, if that's still possible, to build more schools. I don't know, is Senator Wampet still here? We were in the process of building another high school, the first high school in Dedido, the largest village on the island without a high school. Now, some of you might say, here we're part of Dedido. Those of us from this part of the island have never really felt that we're part of Dedido. This here part of the island goes from here over to the ocean. Dedido's way over there. In fact, it's closer for us to go up to Machinanao. And by the way, it is not a Gafagumas. That is not a Chamorro name or anything. A Gafagumas is the name of a former military housing area, Army garrison, and then they threw a little Chamorro in it, Gumas housing. And so I just wanted to give a little bit of that background. I know you're all tired, but I appreciate you all being here. Mr. Chairman, for you all coming up, you all have to stay. You can't get up and get away. And I know it's been 2 hours, and I know you've heard a lot, and I hope that there's been a lot of concerns. And I also realize, although I was chairman of the Legislative Committee on Education for 8 of the 10 years I was there, I know it's different now. I know the schools are different and everything else is different. But don't overlook the fact that there might be some information out there from the past that you might want to tap into now and then. So just Masi, and thank you all for being here. Glad to see the students and parents and all of you.
Hapele, Dr. Swanson, this is for you. Respectfully, GDOE needs to stop playing politics. You need to get your deputies to give you a list of everything that the students need. Every book to take home, every shower head that's missing, every nut and bolt. Make a list, set the priority, $900 million, submit it. Don't allow the Guam Education Board to reduce that. Submit it to the legislature and let the legislature and the government and the governor determine what the students get. But stop playing that game. Submit a budget that reflects what GDOE needs. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Francis Lizama, the GDOE mayor. Two questions actually reference to Sanchez and FB. I know that it was previously mentioned about a emergency contract, which is, I believe, the ground maintenance. Understanding that Sanchez and FB are not being utilized, will the ground maintenance continue? The only reason why I bring this up because the delay of FB's refurbishment was as a result of theft. The copper wire that services the main power Um, as you know, the school is surrounded by jungle. Um, it's not being utilized. So, I just wanted to find out if ground maintenance will continue even though it is not being utilized. One, two, do you guys anticipate security in the event that the process of the construction begins? We don't want to have another delay because of theft. Are you guys looking into security?
So for grounds maintenance, we've been actively doing the grass cutting for both FBLG and Simon Sanchez High School. So for the new emergency procurement, it'll be the same thing. FBLG and Simon Sanchez High School will continue to get their grass cut. As far as security, were you referencing security for the contractor for Simon Sanchez?
Actually, when construction starts for Sanchez and refurbishment for FB to prevent.
I can't answer the one for Simon Sanchez High School. For FBLG, the contractor, Northern Construction, he doesn't have security at his facility. However, Jimmy, myself, and Dr. Swanson, we've been bouncing ideas off on getting security for all schools and seeing what is the most cost-effective way, right? Is it getting security cameras at all of our educational facilities, or is it actually having boots on the ground after school hours during the weekend? So really dependent on, obviously we have a financial issue, right? But depending on the budget, we're gonna see what is the most cost-effective way to go about security for all of our schools, including FBOG. I hope I answered both your questions, Dr. Nahal.
Hello, Mayor. With regards to Simon Sanchez, we cannot answer anything as it is undergoing RFP process. We do not want to jeopardize, but I think former Senator Kinata has an answer to. I'm correct. I'm good. Okay, so we do not want to jeopardize the RFP process for Simon Sanchez, so we cannot answer any questions regarding Simon Sanchez.
So that being said, was security included in the RFP?
I cannot answer that, ma'am.
Well, because if you guys did the scope of work, because somebody should have come up with a scope of work of what needs to be done. I just think security should be part of that.
Yes. Thank you so much, Mayor. Thank you so much for all of you guys coming out this evening. But Ms. Leah Beth is correct. It's under procurement process. It is up to the contractors that have seen the site and will be participating in the bidding. We cannot comment as to what the awarding contractor will be, SOPs will be covering, right? But they were all invited to the site and they will all be participating, and it's a part of the process to ensure that there's no conflicts of interest or potential mishaps, if that answers your question.
Oh, you're talking about the one I wasn't invited last week or 2 weeks ago? Anyways, again, going back to the RFP, I think that should have been part of the RFP, because considering that nobody goes there, again, that was the result of the delay of FB because of the theft. So I know that someone from DOE had reached out to our office requesting if we had space for storage. But of course we don't, not the magnitude of things that needed to be stored. So, I'm just wondering, because again, nobody's gonna stop anybody from doing what they wanna do to support their habit. And as you all know, copper wire, people just steal copper wire to recycle. That is the main reason why FB was delayed. So again, I think that should have been part of the RFP, was security. Another thing, with regards to the facility use, Yes, thank you to Mrs. Martinez, or Tenorio rather. However, I represent the community. The people that are asking me to use the gym, open gym, are students. Okay, I'm not saying I don't support the students. I support the students. My kids graduated from Sanchez. So, you know, when these kids ask, when can we use the gym? Okay, I have to also keep in mind these students who don't participate in sports. She talked about the outside basketball court. Well, the previous had it renovated without lights. So of course, that's a safety issue. So of course, I will not allow them to use the basketball court at night. If there are doubts, that's on them. They are responsible. But when it comes to the kids, of course, safety is a concern. So allowing the students to use the outside basketball court is not an option. Allowing the kids to use the softball field is not an option because of lighting. There's very minimal lighting. Again, the gym, I did speak personally with the coach, and if he had an issue, that was something he should have brought to my attention, but he didn't, so I figured it was okay with him. His statement was, whatever you give us, we're okay, we'll work around it. Okay, so that's something that you need to bring up to the coach, because I'm trying to also allow students who don't participate in the sports to use the facility. Thank you.
Hello, hello, okay. Hello, my name is Sky. I'm a senior at Simon Sanchez. And as you know, we're double sessioning at JFK, and it's almost been about 2 years. I'm not here to ask a question, but I'm here to highlight and uplift my school that has faced challenges and difficulties throughout the long years of not being rebuilt. Despite not having a campus, our students, staff, our admin, and parents have stood strong and stayed resilient. We lived through the anxiety and fear of where we're going to go next year and what's going to happen to us. To the staff and teachers at Sanchez, on behalf of the students at Simon Sanchez, we want to thank you for always supporting us students and guiding us to a brighter future. To my juniors and to my little sister who is attending FB, who will see this, regardless of what situation is placed upon us, let's build a strong community and continue to be resilient throughout the hardships we face. To the board and to the senators who are here to listen to the people and, to the people, I ask you to lend your support and to acknowledge FB Middle School and Simon Sanchez that all the hardship that us youth have to go through. I'm not here to point fingers or blame anyone, but I'm here to just highlight the accomplishments that my school has achieved despite not having a campus and despite being put through this difficult situation. And I want to just make this statement in the light of all the difficult times, just to spread positivity to the youth in my community and to appreciate all the all of the difficulties us Sanchez and FB staff and students have been through. So, Biba Sharks and Biba Hawks.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Al Labang from Astumbo Middle School. I'm a teacher. I'm going to make this brief. I know our students are taking district-wide assessment tomorrow. So one thing that bothers me actually into coming today is in terms of, student support. We have a lot of students committing a lot of things inside the school. In our school, I'm one of the PBIS school facilitator leader, and the top infraction for like last 5 months is tobacco and vape. I highly suggest that you guys consider the Youth Congress bill that would put the burden on the parents. Because I think that's the only way for those students to straighten up. One more thing I want to bring up is the opportunity room. If you guys have ED programs within the school, at Estimbo Middle School, we don't have one. We have students getting smart in terms of, getting suspended because they just want to stay home. I think we need to go after those students. They're just gonna, do infraction in the school, suspended 10 days. The day they come back, 10 days again. So that's like 20 days. They just want to miss out school. I think we need to have opportunity rooms, ORs, like the one in Agada before, in each of our schools. And in Estimbo Middle School, we're trying to create like a proactive approach in terms of that. But we need budget so that we can have a staff in that opportunity room. Because again, that student who lost 20 days, 30 days, they come back, they just want to cause trouble, suspended again. We need to keep those in school. Because again, they're missing a lot of learning time instead of, being in school suspension, learning their mistakes, and learning the things that they need to learn in order to move on. And, in middle school, social promotion is there, and, it's kind of hard. We have middle school students moving to high school, doesn't know how to add decimals, fractions. I'm a math teacher by profession, so that's kind of disheartened me. And, I keep getting middle school students doesn't know how to do long division still. And I think we need to work on vertical alignment within our schools. So I just want to point that out to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello. Hello. My name is Lupe Campus. I'm not very educated on the issues going on in our school department right now. I mean, I'm just a student myself, and I apologize if I get things wrong, but I would just like to say, first of all, that I really appreciate the things that you guys do for our community and the things that you do for our education, but respectfully, I feel like you could do a little bit better. Now, I understand that there are a lot of big issues, especially in the oncoming years. There was dengue, there was COVID, there was Mawar, there's school shooting threats, there's all these school fights, all these threats going on in our society, and I understand that we don't even have enough schools to facilitate all of our students. However, I feel like you guys are overseeing, you guys sometimes tend to only see the big issues in our society rather than focusing on the things that maybe are overlooked. I know that your priority is to get students into schools, but I feel like you guys overlook the issues that students don't just want to be in schools. Students want to be in good schools. They want to be in schools with a quality of learning, and I think that's one of the things that our society in general, or especially Guam, really lacks in our Department of Education. Just to list a few issues. First of all, like I said earlier, all these uprising and school fights, a full $27 million budget not fully utilized. I know that you guys utilize a lot, and from what I heard earlier, I believe that you guys still have a few million left. But as one of you guys said earlier, every penny counts, so why are there so many pennies left? Respectfully, sorry. I'm just a student. However, I would also like to say that we're still having double sessions. Like another fellow student that I personally know earlier, who is now a junior, in his freshman year he was promised that he would be not having to be in double sessions anymore. But again, we also see that this is not the case. And again, with our quality of learning, there are students in my fellow freshman class who are reading at a 4th grade level. I feel like that we, as a Department of Education, need to highlight having a better education. Because if you look at kind of the statistics, if you were to see how many people on Guam have gone on to go to schools like Ivy League, such as Harvard or Yale, all those students are also coming from schools not necessarily from Department of Education, and are rather coming from private schools. I don't often see kids coming from places like good private schools such as Okadu or even JFK going to really good schools like Harvard or Yale, and I feel like that we need a better education to give access to maybe lower income students who cannot afford having like a private school education to be able to, you know, go on to colleges like that. And well, to also keep going, I know that it's a scary time, but it's even scarier to think that we are failing our students and failing our education and failing all these students in their schools, not just the students in Okadu, not just the students in Sanchez, not just the students in JFK, but the students in middle schools, the students in elementary schools who are having their school shut down. I understand that some schools do need to shut down, and I mean, you can't always like solve every issue. Some schools do need to be shut down. But truly, I do think that there is more that you guys can do. I still have a bit more. Let me think. I'm just a freshman. Thank you. We not be able to afford to fix everything. We may not be able to afford to fix all these schools, but we cannot afford to fail these students every longer. And when you get big jobs, and when you get big budgets, and when you promise big results, people expect you to use big portions of your time to get those big results that you promised the big island of Guam that you would, you know, give them when you ran for these positions, and when you said that you would promise all these things, like promising that you'd rebuild a school by now, and promising that you could utilize a budget properly. No offense. I again do respect your jobs. I do understand that this is a very big responsibility. This is a very big thing. But I mean, when you have big jobs, people do expect you to do big things. And like I was saying earlier, I mean, what can I say? I mean, I'm a freshman from Okadu. I just got here. We're still having double sessions. I honestly thought that we wouldn't still be having double sessions. And honestly, I like to think that I work hard. And if I'm being honest, I do not want to go to UOG. I do want to go to a college off island. And like I said, with the opportunities, I mean, I don't stay after school when I could be leaving at 12 to go to home. I could go home. Like, I stay all the way until 6, almost every single day, doing all these extracurriculars just to, you know, maybe have a chance at going to a school that isn't UOG. But, I mean, we're over here focusing on the fact, or we're over here having to focus on the fact that we don't, like, even have our own school all to ourselves, that we don't even have the resources that we need. And it's a bit disheartening to think that we're lacking in all these things, and yet there is still a budget for all of these things. And again, respectfully, I do think that we could have done better. I apologize if this wasn't as eloquent as I would have liked it to be. This was a bit impromptu, but thank you for your time.
You did
Thank
good.
you.
Thank you.
Senator Borja, can I just say something? Thank you so much. I wish all of us here have a magic wand to just, you know, this problem. But I do admire you guys. And don't believe that you can't go to Harvard School or any Ivy League school, because just Saturday, I got an email from one of the students at Ukudu that says, Dr. N, I got accepted at U.S. Naval Academy. And that's a big fit. There's another student that goes to Ukudu. He's going to Air Force Academy. We have a student at GW that's going to UPenn. And I had a robotics kids that went to Columbia, Dartmouth, and all these Ivy League schools. Don't believe that you can go to this big school, because you can. Despite all the challenges that you guys face, you get accepted to these good schools. Don't limit yourself. We know there's a lot of challenges here, and we're not perfect. We're beyond that. And we're used to the beatings here. I just get back. This is my 6th week, but we're always being beaten up. And we still rise up and come to work every day because of you guys. Because guess what? Look at the average age here. I keep saying this. One day you will replace us, and I know you will do better. So keep going and keep inspiring us. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Kirsten Seneklis, and I am the current junior class president, proudly representing Ukudu High School. Before starting this, I appreciate your time and your energy in hosting this town hall and listening to the community's concerns. But as a junior that also got the last time OHS ever had a regular bell schedule, being the first half of my freshman year, I question if redistricting is a good choice. What is the main reason as to why it would be a good option to have us all redirect to another place to remove us from adjusting from something we've already adjusted to? Why is it important to move Ukudu High School students to another school out of their own school? Ukudu High School students, administration, faculty, and staff take such pride within our students and activities that give everyone a look at all the work we have put in to showcase how great OHS students really are. And I do believe that we should not have to leave a place we call home. I invite you all to visit our Bulldog Day on May 3rd at Micronesian Mall to see the great community we have developed. Thank you.
Thank you. And for the sake of students, we're gonna take one more, and then we'll close out the town hall.
Hello, everyone. I guess I'm the lucky person. I'm Dylan Sablan. I'm the PTO president for Maria Ujoa Elementary. I want to thank you for your time and for the insights you provided. I guess just coming from a business military background, one suggestion I just wanted to make, it's more operational in nature, but has strategic implications. So one feedback that I want to provide is maybe we can have a PTO liaison from GDOE side, because I don't know if there's one. For me, it was not known when I became a PTO president, because last month when I was trying to figure out some budget that were allotted for our schools, I had to call 4 different people just to get to that one person I'm looking for. But maybe it'll be advantageous for you, because hearing about all these feedback that we heard tonight, wouldn't it be better to hear these feedback by the beginning of the school year or mid of the school year? So just a suggestion, because having that PTO liaison from the GDOE side will work to have that connection between schools and parents. But not only that, I want to highlight my principal and Dr. Regis. He's done an amazing job on our school. But think about if schools have principals that do not listen to their PTO leadership, would it be better to have somebody from the GDOA side to hear those feedback and rally for them? Thank you.
Thank you. As we come to close tonight's town hall, I want to extend our help. Okay, one more.
Senator Barnett, you're there. Please look into the DOE's budget on maintenance. This gym needs cleaning. Look how filthy it is. Let's not wait till our schools are falling down to appropriate funds. It costs less money to take care of it while it's at the beginning of the problem. Thank you.
Thank you again, Senator Ante. But this school is one of the lease schools, and so they're responsible for the maintenance, but I'll be sure to follow up with the landlord on that issue. But GDOE did provide funding for this school because of some Typhoon Mawar damage that wasn't covered in the contract. So thank you again for your attendance. And Biba Ukudu.
Biba, did you want to?
And by the way, sir, the representative for the parent from the board to the parents is Ms. Carla Borja.
Thank you so much. Again, Roy Kanatsa, Special Assistant to the Governor, focused on the project of Simon Sanchez rebuild. I am as much frustrated of the procurement process as many of you. Mr. Finonia, you were there when I first started. Ms. Carla Masanayan, it's your 11th anniversary with me. So I just wanted to advise of the procurement milestones that are oncoming or ongoing, right? So we've already had the site visit at the campus, and then we will be having the RFP evaluation committee on June 3rd, Wednesday, June 4th, Thursday, until Thursday, June 5th, presentation of those interviews and RFPs. And then on June 20th, we hopefully have anticipated selection of notice, and then we should have groundbreaking, hopefully. And granted, there's no procurement protest, but it's very much a big project for me to see its success and finally have our students back into the Simon Sanchez campus, and ensure that we resolve the situations that our community faces together. And the only way we can resolve this, guys, is working together collaboratively to ensure that the next generation doesn't inherit the same challenges. It's very easy to lay blame, very easy to point fingers, but the only way we can get these things done is if we roll up our sleeves and work together and shovel the dirt together. Thank you again. Have a great evening. Thank you, Senator Vince Borja.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Goodman-Tata.
Hey, good evening, everybody. And before we wrap up, I just wanted to have just a couple of observations from tonight. And I think that it's going to be important for all of the students that are here, that I think as you're watching the budget hearings that are about to happen, I want you to keep in mind that this is not going to always be about appropriation. It's going to be about public policy. And I've said it a couple of times, and I want to stress it to you all tonight, that that's what this is going to end up being over the next couple of months as we prepare the new budget for not just for GDOE, but for all of the education programs, higher ed to be included. Also, I just wanted to just add one last thing, and I wrote it down on purpose because I think it was probably the most important thing that at least I walked away from tonight with it. And if I can share, Mr. Chair, you heard some really good things about the end of the school year. And that's one thing that we were here for tonight. Now, it's not one thing as the end of the school year, but the start of the new school year. I'm hoping that all of the parents that are here and the administrators will hold your leadership to task relative to getting everything done on time. I think that is the absolute most important thing because of the education system. It's such a it is the largest system and the largest department in the entire government. But hold them accountable. And one last thing, it is about priorities. And I know that the priorities of the superintendent and the board are a little bit different than the priorities of our lawmakers, our mayors, every elected official. But I think that that's going to be what you're going to see over the next couple months is the merging of those priorities. And I'm hoping that you'll not hesitate to reach out to us and share with us your perspectives. But the priorities really are going to end up being the ones that will bubble up and create the next budget and all of those policies moving forward. Thank you, Mr. Chair, for the time.
Thank you, Senator Goodman-Tata. All right, thank you. Thank you, everybody, for coming tonight. As we come to close tonight's town hall, I want to extend our thanks to each and every one of you who took the time to be here and engage in this important conversation. Your commitment to our schools and our students is the driving force behind our collective efforts moving forward together. I understand the recent developments of the Guam Department of Education have raised concerns across our community. While I won't speak directly on internal matters, I want to make one point clear. Our focus and the focus of the committee and the 38th Guam legislature remains on ensuring that every school is safe, healthy, and properly supported for our students. I'm skipping some of this because it's super long. Looking ahead to the next school year, our goal is very clear. We must ensure a seamless transition that supports both the academic and emotional needs of our students. Together with your voices and your input tonight, we can create a plan that not only addresses current challenges, but also sets a positive direction for the future. Tonight has been more than just about identifying problems. It's about building the pathway to solutions, and we urge each of you, parents, teachers, and students, to continue to share your ideas and concerns. Let's continue to stand together with determination and purpose as we strive for a brighter future for our children. Thank you once again for your commitment and participation. Remember, our doors are always open for your continued dialogue. If you have any additional comments, questions, or concerns, please feel free to reach out to my office at contact@senatorvinceborja.com or call 671-969-8423. Let's work together to make the next school year our best yet and ensure that every student has the opportunity to thrive. Thank you and have a great evening. The time is now 8:50. We are adjourned.